Hello everyone and welcome to my final exam of School Organization and Diversity. My name is Clara and let's go. I'm the principal of a public primary school in El Carmen, Murcia. We have 20% of immigrant students, high parental engagement, and some tech skepticism among some families. I used this AI prompt with DeepSeek and it answered with these 10 measures. Based on the characteristics of my school, these are the 5 measures I would choose. The first one. This would consist in establishing a charter where all of the rules that are allowed and permitted are established, as well as how will digital tools be used in our school. This will make parents feel more comfortable as they will be able to express their opinion of what they consider that is acceptable and what is not. By promoting this, we will create a learning environment related to what Ramon Flecha says in Learning Communities Guide and the Swiss sociologist Wenger in Communities of Practice. Both authors support a learning community where all interest authors in a specific community, like for example parents, teachers, educators, psychologists, therapists, scientists, participate in the learning interaction. This would be the second measure I would choose. Peer-to-peer collaboration can be very effective for the student teaching and for the student receiving that information. For the student that is going to teach, they can learn communication skills, while the student who is receiving that information is going to be learning in a more approachable way by obtaining that information from someone who is very similar to them. The concept of peer-to-peer learning was popularized by social constructivist Vygotsky. However, more recent studies, like this one done in 2021, advocate for the effectiveness of a collaborative learning model regarding online education. The third one. This can be very helpful for immigrant parents who want to be more present in the child's academic life but struggle due to the language barrier. Also, by promoting interculturality, we can help achieve a more inclusive environment where students can learn about other cultures. This study from Spanish sociologists analyzed the diversity policies in Spanish cities like Murcia. They came to the conclusion that the city of Murcia is one of the regions with a highest index of immigrant students in primary school. Therefore, we should advocate to create more diversity policies that take into consideration the new profile of our students. Now for measure 4. This model of learning can be very beneficial to include all of the learning styles of students. Some of the benefits of blended learning quoted in this study says that it enables greater flexibility, autonomy, and engagement of students. Finally, this would be the last measure. This can be an amazing opportunity for all those families that are financially struggling and can't afford digital devices. I'd say it could be appropriate, but it's not a perfect fit. It mentioned about overcoming the language barrier and some digital issues among parents. However, it only briefly mentioned aspects of diversity such as interculturality, and it didn't mention at all any type of other aspect of diversity like physical or learning disabilities. The workshops suggested by the AI could be carried out following the degree. The Article 23 states this. The proposed measures also align with the Attention to Diversity Plan. The general actions that relate to the proposal are the ones that aim towards improving the technological access, promoting communication, organizing students with external actors like parents, and projects that promote inclusion. The proposed measures also align with the ordinary measures, like these ones. The last measure, which consisted on providing loaner devices, is supported by the current legislation and can be done by following this document. With the AI proposal, the actors affected would be the students, the parents, the teachers, management team, other staff members, and if we implement the learning communities, well then all of the actors of the community that want to be involved, such as other teachers, psychologists, scientists, pedagogists, and much more. The relationships that would be affected by these measures are student-teacher relationships. A student may feel more seen if teachers are elaborating specific programs tailored to the diversity needs. Then, teacher-parent relationships. Parents may be more receptive and open to communication due to the digital charter and multilingual school communications we have previously mentioned. And finally, the teacher-staff relationships, as all of these measures would involve an increase in the workload of all of the educators and school staff. As I have previously mentioned, the AI proposal mainly focused on diversity aspects like ethnicity and language, as well as making parents happy with the digital issues. However, it completely overlooked other aspects that are also very important, like students with learning disabilities such as ADHD or dyslexia, or physical disability as blindness, deafness. It failed to mention the student-to-student relationship. The only measure related to this was the peer-to-peer learning collaborative style. However, it could have mentioned other measures to promote inclusion and diversity within the students, not just focusing on the parents' digital concerns. If I were the principal, according to the classification by Abu Hussein in 2014, the leadership that I identify with is the transformational leaderships. And this is the 5 measures that I have chosen. The first is the monthly newsletter. We could offer parents to receive a monthly newspaper where we can update them on the digital initiatives that we have implemented, upcoming events, or even some activities that have been done in class. We can also recommend scientific disseminators. For example, if you're interested on educational technology, we recommend following Linda CQ on Instagram, or even recommend interesting scientific articles about education and technology. The relationships. This measure would build transparency and trust by keeping parents informed. Therefore, we would be benefiting the parent-to-teacher relationship. The second, through the child. We can make activities to inform the child about digital transformation, making them aware of the benefits and disadvantages. Students can then show their parents the activity they did, for example, about coding, and telling them about what they learned. Relationships. Student-to-parent communication will be improved, as well as parents of school, as they will feel more comfortable knowing that their child is learning useful skills. The third is workshops. We could also offer them for parents and students. They could be about information of digital literacy, online safety. For example, we could use the games of daily life to make parents and children aware of the importance of data literacy. The relationships. This would encourage collaboration in the teacher-to-parent relationship as well as the student-to-teacher relationship. Fourth, another idea is to create a school blog that is managed by teachers and students. Teachers could post entries about articles and information, while students could post about their experiences, activities they have done, interviews, relationships. This would encourage student-to-student and student-to-teacher relationship, as they could work together to write in the blog, as well as the student-teacher-parent relationship, because parents would feel more included in the learning process of their child. The last point is community talks, similar to what we have talked about in the previous part of the exam about communities of practice, where parents and experts can have more presence in the learning process. We can offer sessions with psychologists or educators where they explain the benefits of digital education. The relationship. The affected relationship would be teacher to parent and school to parent, as they would have a more relevant presence in the learning environment. Following Abu Hussein, transformational leaders inspire all of the community to participate by empowering them, which we have done. We would also be encouraged individualized consideration, tailoring the communication to the specific needs of the community. Lastly, we would be focused on long-term changes rather than transactional rewards. In my opinion, the most relevant aspects of the diversity care plan are the curricular adaptations, as that way we can make sure we're adapting to the learning needs of the student, and support from specialists like pedagogists, as they can help us with specific learning strategies or activities to promote meaningful learning within our students. We can also fill out an individualized working plan where we can specify the student's characteristics and the measures that will be taken. Here's an example that I did throughout this course. I will provide full access to the document in the transcription. Our student was diagnosed with Down syndrome and as a result presented with mild mental disability. As ordinary measures, we set to place the student closer to the teacher to reduce distractions and increase support from the educator. And one of the most important measures is to use hands-on materials rather than textbooks. We can also offer extended time for completed assignments and tests, as they may struggle a bit more than the rest. One paper published by the University of North Carolina suggests task analysis as a learning strategy. This consists in breaking down the steps that you need to do for a task. This is a visual example that I did of what we could do in class if we want to do an activity that consists in writing about your holidays using the task analysis strategy proposed by Browder and Spooner. Obviously, the explanations and steps will differ depending on the cognitive ability of our students. If our student is nonverbal, we can use the communication model proposed by Bondi and Frost called PECS, which was originally created for students with autism. It consists in the combination of several pictures to communicate. It's very important that the student doesn't feel left out and that the rest of the class doesn't feel that they are receiving an unfair treatment. That's why we should promote collaborative and cooperative learning to make sure that our student is involved in the learning environment of our class. For this course, I want to be very optimistic and say that I deserve between a 9 and a 10. I have regularly come to class and participated in every class. In school organization, I'd say that I have been able to express my strengths because most of the work was through the presentations, oral presentations. So I have participated in the group dynamics of presenting your work to the rest of the group, and then the presentations with the whole class. In school diversity, I think I have done a pretty good job because I have consistently participated in every class. Whenever Juan Diego asked us to reflect about a certain topic, I always gave and contributed with my own ideas. In my opinion, the most crucial aspect of school organization were the 4 main types of complexities. It has taught me that school organization is not a static and unchanging concept, but rather a complex and dynamic social institution that really determines how and how much students will be able to learn in a safe environment. One idea that I hadn't imagined before was about the analyzing discourse task, because now I know that we have to pay more attention not only to the message that people are transmitting, but how they are transmitting, what strategies are they using, what emotions they're conveying, and if they're citing any reliable sources. It's not only about the message, but also all of the meaning nuances that you may not notice at a first glance. I've learned that a lot of the time teachers don't do anything to support students' diversity because they feel that they are not informed enough. But it is very important to inform ourselves to try to adapt our teaching to diversity students. Also, I've learned that just because a student has autism or Down syndrome does not mean that they will behave a certain way just because they have that condition, because each child is different and we should be flexible enough to adapt our teaching to each student. I am now more aware of the importance because every child deserves a quality education regardless of the differences. And as future teachers, we have the duty not to integrate but include every child regardless of their condition. I have learned how difficult it is to actually be inclusive because it's very complex to try to include every aspect of diversity. Also, I have learned how demanding it is having to check all of the educational laws to make sure that what you are doing is contemplated by the curriculum.